This is music, and these are some first impressions beyond darkness. Welcome to another first impressions video. In these videos, I share with you my first impressions of the many blind buys I've picked up lately. I got a handful of CDs to cover. Let's just get down to business. Up first, Elementum by Bleeding. Progressive metal with they make use of some quite dissonant chords every now and then, which is interesting. It creates its own kind of intensity. Other than that, it's quite melodic and generally on the musical side quite accessible too, I would say. So if you want some progressive metal that doesn't sound like Dream Theater, Bleeding is a good bet. I really liked it. I like the way the songs are composed. They're interesting. You got some heavy parts, some groovy parts, some melodic parts, some dissonant parts. Very interesting. The vocals are a bit of an acquired taste to me, at least. I don't know how to describe the vocalist style other than it being very unique. And it did take me a couple of songs to get it. Actually, I had to listen to the whole album once and then once again. And the second time, the vocals clicked with me. So there you go. Good stuff if you like progressive metal, but the vocals might be an acquired taste. Up next, we have The End of the World by Black Hawk. This is European power metal with all the cheese, all the whininess, all the wimpiness just shaved away. So it's actually pretty damn cool. I really like this. It has the things I like from European power metal. Most of the things I dislike are absent, so you're left with a bunch of just kick-ass power metal songs. Very good stuff. I really like the vocalist too. Very different style from your usual wimpy and whiny Euro power metal vocalists. Up next, we have Chain Reaction, and this album is called A Game Between Good and Evil. This to me is traditional heavy metal with a foot in the hard rock camp and a foot in the Euro power metal camp. You got some very solid songs on here, nice riffs. The riff style is traditional heavy metal for the most part, but you do have some more aggressive parts every now and then, which I also appreciate quite a lot. There are some ballads on here, which they're not super cheesy, I would say. There's a little bit of cheese. You got a song called Born to Rock. Wash My Tears is pretty good. Where is God is pretty good. All the songs are actually pretty good, come to think of it. It's female fronted. The vocalist has also a quite unique voice. It took me a couple of songs to get into that as well. She has a quite dark voice for a female vocalist, which is not a problem, you know. There's just something to the quality of her voice. I just think I didn't expect it. So, it took me a song or two to get into it. But yeah, this is really good stuff too. If you like just straight up heavy metal and you like your female fronted metal, this one is worth checking out. I liked it. I'm going to listen to it again for sure. The next one was a little bit challenging. Devastate, Armies of Hate. I would consider this death thrash. You even have some blast beat parts. Most of it is kind of thrashy. Imagine old Sepultura, just quite more aggressive. That's what this sounds like. So you have some old school death metal styled riffs. You have some thrashy style riffs. You have your death thrashy stuff where it's really just thrash, just much more aggressive. The vocals are a mix of hardcore shouts and then guttural vocals, and the hardcore shouting kind of took me by surprise. So another album where I had to get into the vocals. Didn't take me that long. The songs are great. The vocals, when you kind of when they click with you, are great too. There's one big con here, a big minus. The drums are programmed, and it's very jarring in places, especially with the blast beady parts. I hate. Hate is too much. I don't like blast beats on programmed drums. It sounds too mechanical, and they also go overboard, typically, and make him too fast. That's not the case here. A human could play this stuff for sure. It's just too jarring, the programmed drums, to the point that there are parts that are unlistenable to me here, and then there are parts that are listenable that I quite enjoy. So I'm on the fence on this one. It has lots of qualities, but the programmed drums are a big detractor to me. Or I'm a detractor to them. You know what I mean. A bit of a shame, because other than that, it's great. But if you like your extreme metal, if you like your super aggressive thrash metal, and you don't have a problem with programmed drums, because they are becoming more and more commonplace nowadays. So maybe if you listen to a lot of that stuff already, maybe you will just pop this one on and enjoy it immediately. Who knows? I need to give this one a couple of more spins, because I don't want to let the drums destroy the listening experience completely when there's so many other great things on here. So there you go. This one was a bit of a challenge. And up last, Death Beyond Darkness by Dissident Aggressor. This is a dive bomb release, and when I just bought it, I just didn't look at it or anything. I just put it in my inbox. So when I finally got around to listening to this, I listened to all of these in my office at work. I was like, that sounds like early 90s thrash metal. My favorite era of thrash metal. That's the late 80s, early 90s. But that's because that's when I got into thrash metal, right? And then I, look at the back, and sure enough, because it's a dive bomb album, it's actually a compilation of two releases from 1990 and 1992. So that explains it has that 90s thrash guitar tone, the 90s thrash, early 90s thrash riff style, the bass tone, that overkill style bass tone that you can hear, which is probably a reaction to I think the fact that you could certainly hear the bass on a lot of early 90s thrash metal releases, a reaction to Injustice for All. So that's because it was from the early 90s. Now it is interesting on the it's called Earth Zone Studios. That's from 1992. You can hear a little bit of thrash metal starting to go weird. There are some alternative metal elements, not too many. I actually think it's perfect. You got a little bit of some funky and weird stuff in the instrumentals, collage and LBS. Other than that, nope. It's early 90s thrash. You know what I mean? Before thrash got weird. There's not a weak part on the first stretch of songs, the first 7 songs, called Prairie Sun Recording Studios. What I really like about it is it has that eccentrics, overkill, early 90s, late 80s sound and approach, and the riff style. But they do throw in a little bit of crossover every now and then, which works very, very well. I think Dead Bugs is an example of that. And From the Balls is also an example of that. It sounds like From the Balls almost makes fun of the more macho features of New York hardcore and crossover. This is great. If you love thrash metal, this here is a fantastic gem. It's so great that Dive Bomb Records released this one. Really, and it also reminds us that not all thrash sucked in the 90s. Actually, in the early 90s, there was a lot of awesome thrash metal. So there you go. So a handful of interesting listens, in my opinion. If you want to check him out, check him out. Thanks for watching.